I'll start with this Majjhima Nikaya 151 Pindapata Parisuddhi Sutta. The purification of alms food. It's more like the collection of alms food purification practice. So on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Rajagaha. Then when it was evening, the Venerable Sariputta rose from meditation and went to the Blessed One. After paying homage to him, he sat down to one side, and the Blessed One then said to him, Sariputta, your faculties are clear. The colour of your skin is pure and bright. What abiding do you often abide in now, Sariputta? And he replies, now, Venerable Sir, I often abide in sunyata vihara, emptiness.
Sure,
avoidance.
dwelling in emptiness.
This is good, Sariputta. Now, indeed, you often abide in the abiding of a great man, for this is an abiding of a great man. So, Sariputta, if a bhikkhu should wish, may I now often abide in emptiness, he should consider thus: on the path by which I went to the village for alms, or in the place where I wandered for alms, or on the path by which I returned from the alms round, was there any desire, lust, hate, delusion, or aversion in my mind regarding forms cognizable by the eye, or regarding any of the senses? If by so reviewing he knows thus, on the path which I went to the village for alms, there was desire, lust, hate, and delusion in my mind, then he should make an effort to abandon those evil, unwholesome states. But if by reviewing he knows thus, there was no desire, lust, hate, or delusion, aversion in my mind regarding forms cognizable by the eye, then he can abide, happy and glad, training night and day in wholesome states.
Well, again, there are many passages in the suttas like that, and see, like most people would sort of, well, they would either assume they already know it, or they would just read over it. But that's all a person needs to do, literally. That it's nothing. It's not a. Keep repeating, but it's not a magical, great mystical secret that needs to be figured out through some novelty experience that you have, and rising of energy in your body and whatnot. None of that is relevant. It's the discernment of greed, aversion, delusion, and then not having it, not delighting in it. If it rises on its own, you're mindful of it until, having arisen, it has to cease, and so on. And that's what it means. He trains day and night. He doesn't go day and night and repeats to himself, touching, stepping, moving, sitting. No. He keeps reviewing the experience as a whole without attending to this or attending to that and moving this and step 1, step 2, step 3. Just keeps an eye, keeps the peripheral vision as far as he can see in the background of his mind. Is there greed? Is there aversion? Is there an inclination towards greed? Is there an inclination towards aversion? Is there an inclination towards delusion? And by delusion, I mean distraction. Many people don't even understand what delusion is. Delusion is when it's obviously not sensual and not ill will, but it's something that results in loss of mindfulness. And by definition, it's basically like indolence, mental indolence, or choosing a thing that will distract you from it, even if it's not unwholesome per se. Oh, I would like to, go and talk to wise people and maybe meet with some other monks and whatnot. But it's rooted in just desire to distract yourself from yourself. So that's delusion. That's why it's subtle. That's why it's the hardest to undo. Because it's not obviously unwholesome. So you need to remove even the slightest sort of layers of bad faith. They will kind of make you believe that you're really doing it for good reasons, while really you're just doing it to distract yourself from your mindfulness. So that's what it means. He practices day and night. Day and night he keeps a watchful eye on the horizon of his mind, basically. What's coming, if it's wholesome, if it's unwholesome, if it's not unwholesome, he delights, he abides gladly and so on. He enjoys and he's quite happy and bright in that sense, because He knows exactly what he needs to do, and he's doing it. As opposed to getting all caught up and wound up and intense, not knowing what he's doing, and then he's doing everything and nothing at the same time. And then obviously just get tied into a knot. And then you have a huge energy release, and then you think, wow, that was so powerful. And still, you're not a step closer to discerning the nature of greed, aversion, delusion. Is it present? Am I fueling it? Am I maintaining it? Am I entertaining it?
He doesn't. It doesn't say that he abides happy and glad, training night and day in wholesome states, which is the absence.
Absence of greed, aversion, exactly. Those are the wholesome states. Yeah.
So that's all he's seeing, discerning the
And
absence of.
exactly. So he's discerning the absence of unwholesome states, and that is his abiding, and that is his meditation, that is his samadhi. That results in nibbana if developed fully. He doesn't discern wholesome and unwholesome, and then he goes and does some meditation technique that, helps him feel good or something. But day and night, not like half an hour a day. From the morning he wakes up till he goes to sleep, he does not entertain, and he's not negligent. Not in regard to everything, just in regard to things that matter. Things like greed, aversion, and delusion. Things like wanting to in a sense of sort of delighting in it. Things like aversion in a sense of rejecting it, trying to get rid of it. And delusion, things like trying to distract himself from himself. So aversion is not only hate, an obvious hate. Aversion is basically trying to get rid of the spontaneously arisen sensual thought. Thought of a beautiful object, of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. In itself has arisen on its own. Same, like sights come in the range of the eye, thoughts come in the range of the mind. That's not your doing. Not knowing that it's not your doing, you will be trying to get rid of it. You will be overstepping the mark. And that's aversion. That's like that simile of the bait, the deer herd sutta, where the first herd sees the second herd sees the first herd, how they eat carelessly, as in engage in sensuality, and because of that they're subjected to Mara's control. But then they shun the whole thing. They don't discern the extent of Mara's bait, but they say no to all of it. And that's usually the first response. Oh, I must not do this, I must not do this, I must not have this, that's attachment, everything. Sights are attachments, thoughts are attachments, possessions are attachments, everything is attachment, because you can't differentiate. So then you want to throw all of it. And that basically becomes your aversion. Whenever these things arise, you overstep your mark and you're shunning it. And that's how you get hooked. Because either way, you interfere with it. So there are much subtler layers of aversion than just hatred and irritation. You can have aversion in regard to your own senses and the objects that appeared. Oh, there is the pressure of a beautiful object, the prospect of it, and you're averse because you're afraid of the consequences and everything else. But being afraid of the consequences is one thing, but then actually giving into the aversion and then actively trying to deny the thought, get rid of it, is it's rooted in aversion. So that's also unwholesome, and because of that, you keep engaging with it. Yeah, sometimes there's like complete, lack of mindfulness, and the last bastion of your hope is just not breaking a virtue. Then yeah, you just have to endure it and say no to it. But that's like, maybe once every in a while. More often than not, people actually just cultivate aversion unknowingly through thinking they must be getting rid of these thoughts, but they're not. You're not the one responsible for the bait. It's the Mara. That sutta doesn't say, oh, the deer sets up the bait. No, Mara sets up the bait, sets up the beautiful object and enticing object that make the deer herd trapped. So you start discerning the bait, and then the Buddha says the final deer herd learns how to eat carefully. So they eat around the bait, because if you shun the bait, you'll get caught. If you eat carelessly, you get caught. So you learn how to eat carefully. as in you're mindful in regard to that which can entrap you, and you don't engage with it either through delighting in it or overly rejecting it. You discern to allow it. You learn how to allow it to endure. Having arisen, you know it will cease. So you don't have to actually do anything. It's not your problem. And that's how Mara cannot see you. Because Mara can see you only when there is a form of engagement in regard to the bait that he sets up. Based on the engagement, he can gauge where you are. Ah, look, he avoided it here, but he didn't avoid it there, or he completely ate carelessly, or he's trying to get rid of it. He's still interfering with my bait, so I know he's there. But then the final deer herd came, and there's absolutely food still there, no interference, but so they're not interfering in the sense that they're trying to destroy the bait, get rid of it. They're not interfering in the sense that they're trying to eat it, but they must be somewhere, but Mara can't see them now, because there is no response in regard to inciting objects, any senses or thoughts. And that's how you go beyond sensuality as well.
So back to the emptiness. Just for a quick. It's not a place of like a bubble.
No, it's not a mystical
dimension
reality.
of emptiness.
Yeah. It's absence.
Yeah.
As that other sutta I was reading the other day, the recording. It says he knows these things are absent, and because of that he knows what's present.
Yeah.
Well, it's absence of certain things. That's what you're empty of. So it's always a negative reference. Emptiness, definition of emptiness.
Again, with the alms in a collection, alms going, he doesn't do, if he lives in the forest or lives secluded, he goes amongst the people and then sees his mind gets lustful, his mind gets angry, he gets distracted. When he comes back, he reviews.
He reviews it, yeah, exactly, yeah.
In that seclusion.
Yeah.
Comes back to
Oh
seclusion.
yeah. He doesn't stand in the middle of the village.
Doesn't stay there,
Yeah, and then start reviewing his mind. No, it cannot be stressed sufficiently enough. The necessity of physical seclusion, as in the actual physical seclusion, when you know there is not even when there isn't an easy prospect of people encroaching upon you. So you know most likely you'll be physically removed for the rest of the day. Not like physical seclusion, go to your room and you close your door and you're surrounded.
Yeah, but this whole having to go into the village for food, there's your opportunity to be around people.
Oh yeah, sure, of course. And that will give you more than enough to review.
For the rest of the day, yeah. And if you reviewed that there was nothing pulled you.
That's great, then you're going to enjoy your seclusion even more.